It's too early for some people?
Yeah, I was saying that for some young people, it's early morning, 11 o'clock, they get up and, start going around things. So yeah, I'm just joking. I was just joking.
Okay,
It is,
they're
yeah.
now streaming
Yeah.
live on YouTube. Okay.
Yeah, people have started joining in.
Yes. It's too early for. It's too.
I can see people joining in from Bangladesh.
Yes. Zohair has joined. Udari has joined from Sri Lanka.
Shall we start?
Good morning, Sheetal.
Good morning, sir.
भैया कैसे
And
हैं?
Morning, Karuna ji. मेरे को 3 लोग दिख रहे हैं. I think I should. There are a lot of people are there. I think we should start.
Yes.
yes. So, good morning, everyone, and a very warm welcome to the second day of Climate Literacy Conclave for South Asia. And today we will be joined by youth voices from across South Asia to share their perspective on climate literacy and education, and why it should be there in all our countries, and why. Yeah, and to formally start the webinar, it is my pleasure to invite Mr. Aditya Pundi, Director South Asia, the Climate Reality Project India, to deliver the welcome address.
Thank you, Sheetal. Good morning to all the friends who have joined today morning. And we are here to celebrate a week of Earth Day. Earth Day, as you all know, is happening on 22nd April. And so this week we are celebrating, every day there will be some activity happening. And this was a 2-day event which was done on 15th and 16th to focus on climate literacy and with a focus on being South Asia. Well, we have the 3 organizations. I'm really thankful today for I'd like to welcome all 3 of them to the program. Of course, the Earth Day, who's been very kind enough to give the platform of Earth Day to us to talk about it. And the Climate Reality Project, my organization, and the Mobis Foundation, who organized very well yesterday's webinar on climate literacy. And I'd like to also welcome our Madam Karuna, who is heading the Asia, all the operations outside the United States for Earth Day. She is actually the backbone of the Earth Day for all of us. She's a motivator, and she sees to it that everybody does a task every day on Earth Day. So, so a very big welcome to you, ma'am, to the program.
Thank you.
And I would also like to welcome Dr. Rambhuj. Dr. Rambhuj has been a great, he has been a force behind this program, and he has been always guiding all the 3 organizations towards how to move forward in literacy. He has He has a phenomenal background of UNESCO and education of more than 40 years. So we all look up to him for the right path. So he is like the leading light who will probably take us out of this darkness. And I'm also thankful to Mr. Pradeep Burman, who's joined today, who's been giving us all the support and all the things required, all the material things required to make it happen. And with that, of course, I'd like to welcome the team, the audience, or everybody who's here today for having a wonderful session for this two-day session. Well, for the audience who's joined here for today, I'll just briefly in a minute explain to you what happened yesterday. Yesterday, we had invited a couple of vice chancellors. They were people from other people from Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka, senior education people, who talked about how we can talk and how do we can convert advocacy, education, all into action in the coming times through the medium of education, that is universities, schools, and colleges. So a lot of issues were discussed, and I would highly encourage you to watch a recording on the YouTube and probably go through the notes which were discussed, as it may be very useful for you to design probably your next move. Now coming to today's program, which will be My Future, My Voice, because as you all know, the climate challenge is coming. The climate challenge is on our doorsteps, and we have to come out of it as early as possible before getting crushed. As you've already seen how the COVID has crushed us in the last 2 years. The young people can't go out, they can't celebrate, they can't have birthday parties, they can't even have welcome parties, farewell parties, nothing can happen because of the COVID. So these type of problems related to climate change and will be coming more in future. And it is a duty of everyone today to see that we can stall this future. Now, the key things, as I said yesterday, was also will be the innovation, technology, and behavioral change. So it's the young people who will be leading this charge forward, because they are the ones who are innovative. They are the ones who have a very good understanding of technology. And thirdly, they are the ones who will be mastering how a change has to happen in our behaviors in the coming times, so that we can move forward with the minimum footstep. As they say, that we have to move ahead and we have to leave no one behind as per SDG. So we have to not only move our own people, we have to move everyone with us out of the way of harm in the coming days. So with this, I would like to welcome you once again for this program. We have got some very good speakers today who will be talking from the youth's perspective, what they are looking for. After all, the planet belongs to them. It's all about intergenerational equity. They should also have a good life like the ones we had, the clean rivers, clean air, and good pollution-free atmosphere. So with that, I would like to welcome you once again, and I will pass it on to Neela for taking it forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Aditya. I'm Neela Majumdar. I'm with earthday.org, also Earth Day Network, as we're known as in India. I lead the climate literacy programs, and today we're here to welcome you to the South Asia Climate Literacy Conclave, bringing together youth from our neighboring countries. Yesterday, as Aditya said, we had policymakers, and today we will have some wonderful panelists allowing us to, as Aditya said, in lockdown, move around to our neighboring countries as well through the voices of these youth. So let me begin by saying that climate and environmental literacy is a core pillar of Earth Day 2021's Restore Our Earth theme. So we can't expect to solve the climate crisis if we don't really learn about it. We need to understand how anthropogenic activities affect the environment and how the environment affects us. So basically, a climate literate person would not only understand the essential principles of Earth's climate system, but also know how to assess scientifically credible information about the climate, and therefore communicate about this in a meaningful way, and to also make informed and responsible decisions with regard to actions that may affect the climate. We are all seeing the effects of climate change, rising temperatures, rising sea levels, and all these are causing a lot of climate crises. I mean, we've all seen heat waves, droughts and floods and these horrible forest fires last year. We're seeing how the changes that affect almost every aspect of human society, which of course includes economic prosperity, human and environment health, and even national security. So to meet these economic and environmental challenges, we need to be climate literate. For example, I'm based in Calcutta, and rising sea levels, for example, in the Sundarbans, leads to climate refugees coming in. A city like Calcutta, which is already overpopulated, what's going to happen to us? What are the solutions that we're going to find to these issues? So these are some of the various things that students need to understand and learn about. And basically, since the first Earth Day 51 years ago in 1970, we have been trying to create an environmental movement. We are trying to create environmental awareness and tell people all about the climate change that is happening, as well as reaching out regarding climate literacy. We believe that since 1970, about 3 billion students from around the globe have graduated from high schools or equivalent worldwide without the fundamental skills and critical thinking necessary to effectively be stewards of the earth. We have stranded them by failing to educate them on the interplay between the environment and their own lives. We have not prepared them to participate in their communities. We have not equipped them with the skills necessary to build a green economy. And through global climate literacy, we hope to inspire a reverence for the planet that moves them to act for the environment. With respect for the natural world, we can establish a shared commitment from our youth to act on behalf of the planet, again, not for politics and not for profit. We can therefore build a sustainable environment, whether in nature or society, but we can't do this without educating the next generation. That's why Earth Day is spearheading a campaign to have compulsory assessed climate and environmental education with a strong civic engagement component in every school in the world. Combined with civic education, climate and environmental literacy will create jobs, build a green consumer market, and allow citizens to engage with their governments in a meaningful way to solve climate change. 50 years ago, the first Earth Day started an environmental revolution. Now we hope to ignite an education revolution to save the planet. So this formal campaign was launched last summer, and it basically combines grassroots support on the ground efforts by students, educators, non-profits, and we hope to reach out to ask for commitments from the ministries of education and environment as well. And through our climate environmental literacy campaign, we want students across the world to benefit from high quality to education, to develop them into informed and engaged environmental stewards. So we started campaign asking for 30 plus countries to demand action at COP26. We've enlisted around 500 organizations who represent around 275 million individuals, adding grassroots voices to the call. What can you do? You can educate yourself, your friends, and your family. Invite them to our Earth Day programs. Invite them to join the movement. And even as individuals, you can sign the global petition. So education basically starts at home to create environmentalists, to create young stewards for the environment. In the last year, we had to take our classrooms online. Earth Day Network organized some 20 webinars with our neighboring countries, teachers, NGOs, students participating to figure out how we can actually motivate students to be environmental students while they are having to learn online. We also organized a pan-India contest for teachers, which is going to culminate this Earth Day. And we're offering cash prizes for the schools and certificates to all the teachers, asking for tried and tested effective methodology to build climate literacy in youth. So teachers and experts have already suggested using techniques such as films, because a moving image can be very inspirational, songs, storytelling, puppetry, do-it-yourselves, nature club activities to engage students to make them stewards for the environment. So we basically got one more week to go to Earth Day. Millions of activists around the world are coming together as volunteers for civic action, for teach-ins, and so much more. And we would love you to be part of this whole movement. Because for many people, Earth Day is one of the first environmental actions they take in their schools. And we want more and more people to join the environmental movement. We say Earth Day is one of the largest civic festivals around the world, bringing together billions of people. And you can also be part of this by liking all our various social media pages, which will give you more information about our movement and our webinars. There's Earth Day Network India, Earth Day Network Bangladesh on Facebook, as well as Twitter and Instagram. And we basically need to give a voice to our youth, because young climate activists have shown how they are really engaged with the environment. And we actually launched a campaign last year called My Future, My Voice on our 50th anniversary, with video recordings of what youth are looking for in terms of change. So Earth Day is basically more than a day, and we basically say Earth Day every day. So you have 365 days, because every act counts, and we want you to be the change that we want to see. You can join our Earth Day live stream, which reached out to over 100 million people, which reached out to some 8.5 million, I think, last year. And we believe some 100 million people actually took action, and we want to reach even more people this year. So you can find out more on our earthday.org website. The Youth Climate Summit is happening on April 20th. On April 21st, Education International is organizing a summit for teachers worldwide. And on Earth Day itself, President Joe Biden has invited global leaders for a leader summit of 40 leaders to take climate action. We have our own Earth Day Live that day, which will be broadcast from 9:30 p.m. IST. And we've asked some of the most influential names in the fight for climate education, including our youngest My Future, My Voice youth climate activist, 9-year-old Lisipriya Kangujam from India. And I would now request Nishu Paul, our Director, Earth Day Programs for Asia and South Asia, to tell you more about this campaign and who all are going to be joining us today. Thank you. Over to you, Nishu.
Thank you, Neela. Thank you for the introduction. A warm good morning to all of you. I am Nishu, and I work as the Director of Earth Day in South and Southeast Asia. I provide inputs for the strategic development of programs and campaigns for countries in this region. And one of the campaigns that I'm leading is called My Future, My Voice, which places at center stage the role that youth play as responsible and environmentally friendly citizens. I would like to first of all extend my warm thanks and gratitude to our co-organizers, the Climate Reality and Mobius Foundation, for this very important webinar today on climate literacy. Well, we all will agree that a climate educated and environmentally literate public is likely to be better placed for to make better and sustainable consumer decisions, and to take educated choices that are good for our planet. And at Earth Day Network, we completely believe in that, as Neela mentioned, through several campaigns and programs that we lead. One of the main intentions of Earth Day Network has also been to bring the youth voices and young voices together, as we believe that youth have a very important role as architects and drivers for sustainability. Also, since they are most vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, we believe that it is necessary that they be involved in sustainable development and climate action programs. So with that thinking and with that in mind, we launched last year on Earth Day our major multi-country campaign called My Future, My Voice. And we will soon hear from some of the young environmental leaders of that campaign, who are incredible examples of how climate literacy can shape our young minds to take on environmental stewardship. Briefly about the My Future, My Voice campaign. We launched this campaign last year on Earth Day, wherein we brought together young environmental leaders who were under the age of 30 and in some countries 35 from Asia, Africa, Pacific Rim countries, and Far East to basically share their successes and best practices with other youth in the region. And I'm very glad to inform that today we have more than 150 youth leaders from several countries, which count to over 65 from these regions, and some as far as Brunei and Timor-Leste, Mongolia and Panama. Countries that we otherwise don't hear of, or some countries that are really inundated by the rising sea levels, for instance, Maldives. So we have these 65 countries part of the campaign now, and we call these young environmental leaders, they're titled as youth ambassadors, and each of the youth, as we will hear some of them speak today, they have pledged to take environmental actions for Earth Day and to restore our Earth, which is the global theme of Earth Day this year. Through their work and through their voices, through their video messages that some of them have shared with Climate Reality as well today, you will hear that they describe about what role they have themselves been playing as environmental leaders, and several of them have found their own organizations and are best examples of environmental stewards. Several of our ambassadors have several themes on which they work, and they work in diverse environmental areas, which range, for instance, from protecting the biodiversity, increasing the green cover, waste management, and reducing, saving our precious natural resources. And all of these youth are, united by their common aim to work for good of the environment. We hope you will be inspired by these next set of young speakers who are My Future, My Voice youth ambassadors and great environmental stewards. I will let my colleague Ajay moderate this, who is moderating the session, to speak more about what they do and what they're doing. But as we all know, that COVID has created this huge disruption in our society, and the business as usual approach will not work any longer. So this is perhaps, and we have seen, last year around, there was this joking yesterday with some of my colleagues that, Earth Day seems to be a reminder that we really need to buck up and take some action for us. Last year, again, this time, we moved everything digital, from on-ground commemorations to digital. And this year, again, the same, the fourth wave of COVID has again started during this time. So perhaps Earth Day is a reminder by Mother Nature itself that please reflect and take care of your own planet Earth, since we've already damaged it enough. Thank you all for your time, and I wish you all the best for the session today. And I hand it over to my colleague Ajay, who will take forward and moderate the session and also talk about these youth ambassadors. I wish you all the best for today. Thank you.
Thank you everyone. Thank you Nishu for that wonderful message, and thank you Neela for highlighting all the thing about Earth Day. As I hear you talk about Earth Day, I feel more proud to be part of this movement as a Director of Climate Change Programs for India and South Asia. It's been 51 years since the first Earth Day on April 22nd, 1970, that marked the first birth of this widespread environmental movement. Since then, we have increased our understanding of the planet and its ecosystem, and we have signed increasingly detailed international treaties like the Governing Climate Change, Ozone Destruction Substance, the Protection and Use of Biodiversity, the Prevention of Desertification, and various forms of pollution. But it's us, the young people of today, that will have to implement those agreements and come up with new solutions for growing environmental problems. And our task is going to get harder. On the earth that will need to accommodate an unprecedented 9 billion people by 2050, all trying to share resources needed to achieve 9 billion different dreams. Education for young people now is the key to ensuring continued progress and even survival of these billions. Just as other kinds of literacy allow access to decision-making and participation in democratic processes, environmental and climate literacy is the bedrock of action for an equitable and sustainable world. That's why earthday.org is globally advocating for an environmental and climate literacy movement globally, led by a large network of nonprofits, government organizations, and business leaders. in a campaign that asks citizens for the world to take a stand and support teaching for environmental and climate literacy from kindergarten to pre-university level. Raising awareness on environmental issues has always been high on the agenda of earthday.org, which leads several initiatives, networks, and partnerships that target youth universities and schools. Today, I'm very delighted to have a group of very dynamic youth leaders leading the climate movement in their own countries. They're all part of the earthday.org's My Future, My Voice campaign, which Nishu highlighted, that was launched last year on the 50th anniversary to provide a global stage for young people to collaborate and showcase their work on improving our planet's health. And by doing so, we'll spread the word and inspire millions more to get involved. Today, we have leaders from South Asia, each of them doing some incredible work in their countries to take the environmental movement forward. I'm very excited to learn from their work, examples of what their countries are doing to promote climate literacy. For nations where climate literacy is mandatory, where is the gap that we are not seeing this translate into climate action? What are your thoughts and importance of climate literacy? Please share that with us and everything else that you would like to share. Along with that, I would also urge all of the leaders to share one practical tip that we can all adopt in our lifestyle to be more sustainable in our actions. For everyone watching us, please stay tuned for a dose of inspiration and hope that our youth of this generation not only understands the science of climate change, they understand the urgency of it, and they're not sitting on this information. They're doing everything to improve the health of our planet. So stay hooked. We will have questions if time permits. With that, I invite the first speaker, who is also a friend of mine and a fellow global shaper. We are all both part of the same community. Madish Parekh. Madish Parekh is an active youth leader and is associated with many social change making organizations. He wears many hats. He's an NSS advisory board member at Gujarat Technological University and Ahmedabad Global Shaper community member. Global Shapers is an initiative of the World Economic Forum. He's a co-founder of an Invincible NGO and president at Auxiliary Foundation. His outstanding community welfare service has honored him with Indira Gandhi Award by the Honorable President of India, Shri Pranab Mukherjee, in the year 2014. So, Madish, welcome to this session. We look forward to hearing from you a little about your work, your thoughts on climate literacy, and where can we bridge that gap. Along with that, one message that you would like to share that you have applied in your life and you would like others to adopt. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Ajay. So first of all, I'm very glad to be at the Climate Literacy Conclave for South Asia. And I'm also very much thankful to Earth Day, the Climate Reality Project India, and Mobius Foundation for organizing this conclave. And I extend my sincere thanks to Karuna ma'am and Nishu ma'am for having me here. I believe that climate literacy, or the literacy about climate science, firmly changes and shapes the future we are going to inhabit. Climate literacy has a potential to create a huge set of global green markets, which may completely function on alternative and non-renewable energy. And not only that, but subsequently, climate literacy is also encouraging conscious consumerism, which will thereby promote and support these green markets. However, as a society, we must ensure that climate literacy is not dependent on the distribution of income, because people who are being affected by the first wave of climate change are the ones who have least contributed to climate change. So therefore, as a society and a group of youth, we must use climate literacy as a tool to address climate change adaptation and climate change mitigation. Also, I'm very certain that progress is being made by the NGOs and CSOs and the government. However, for reaching a mass, climate change movement still seems a far-fetched idea for the developing poor countries. And talking about us, we are a group of 25 young people from Ahmedabad Global Shapers, and we are to address climate change by creating an urban forest, by ensuring that the forest consists of traditional, local, and ecologically important species of plants and trees. With a plan of planting over 10,000 trees in the middle of bustling city of Ahmedabad, we aim to create a space which not only connects humans with nature, but a space which also educates people about the importance of protection and conservation of the pristine. Climate change is one of the symptoms of the great destruction of our planet. Climate literacy should place environment at the center as a focal point of study and humans at the periphery. So for humans have been mere consumers of the ecosystem services without any key role in the contribution of safeguarding to the planet. The global ice loss, increasing temperatures, increased downpour are the warning signs that our planet is sick. The exploitation of the resources of our planet is exhausting and has come to its saturation. By not believing in climate change and by not fighting it against, we are giving rise to mass human crisis. Coastline countries like Kiribati has purchased patches of land on Fiji Island, for they know their country will never be uh, for knowing their country will be underwater in a few years of time, and their people will have no place to migrate. Talking about India, apple farmers in Himachal of my country are also losing their livelihoods every year due to increasing temperatures. The apple cultivation is moved up in the north, in the alpine mountains every year, but the question is for how long they will shift. What will happen when the tip of the mountain peak is also covered? So the understanding of climate science is no longer limited just to scientists, environmentalists, or some NGOs. It is a non-negotiable learning for every individual, irrespective of the gender, age, income, culture, or color. And we are standing at a very unfortunate point in of our lives that despite of this very evident warning signs, we have to convince and explain people to come together in fighting against climate change. Often in the process of finding nature-based solutions, we have lost our basic common senses, capturing, like fresh air of the mountains in bottles, installing carbon capturing machines, and when just planting a few trees solves the problem or the purpose. So climate literacy must bring us back to helping us understand what it means to going back to the roots. And towards the end, I sincerely urge everyone to perceive development not as the increase in the financial income, but by the fresh air you breathe, the quality of food you eat, and by the lifestyle which is free of chronic ailments. And so we have to change the system and make sure the organic foods are more economical than plastic packaged, pesticide loaded foods. So this is certainly not a one-man show. It needs the government, the people, and greater the community as a whole to protect the only planet that we have, for there is now, because there is no planet B. Wishing you all a very happy Earth Day in advance. Together we can do more. Thank you so much.
That wonderful message, and of course, that is one good advice, that organic is not expensive because there are costs of it on the planet and health. So that cost is the hidden cost that we all pay every day when we.
Ajay, we can't hear you very clearly.
Am I audible now?
No, there's an echo, I think.
Is it better now? Okay. So thank you, Madesh. With that, I will like to invite our next speaker, Zuhair Ahmed Kaushik. He is from Bangladesh. Zuhair is a born leader who has won many awards for his work in Bangladesh to inspire you to take up the mantle to rectify the many negative environmental conditions that prevail in the country. He currently works as a regional facilitator for Asia Pacific for the UN Environmental Program, where also works with EarthDay.org as the country coordinator for Bangladesh. With EarthDay, where has initiated many programs on climate literacy, online workshops to help the youth in Bangladesh better understand climate change and environmental issues. For this, to date, he has trained over 1,000 youth from over 40 universities of Bangladesh. His tireless social and environmental work has recognized with the Hanyang South Korea Youth Kingmaker Award. With that, I invite you to please share his thoughts and also share one practical advice that we can follow for the listeners also to follow and become more sustainable in their action. What do you say?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you properly, but I got to understand that you have given a nice introduction and talked about the works that I'm doing in Bangladesh. So good noon, everybody. I'm Zuhair Ahmed Kaushik from Bangladesh, and currently I'm working at United Nations Environment Program Major Group for Youth and Children as a regional facilitator for the Asia and Pacific. Also, I've been working on climate change, environmental literacy, green entrepreneurship since 2015. This is a brief introduction about me. So today I was asked to discuss about the condition of environmental education in Bangladesh. So when we talk about environmental education or environmental literacy, what comes to our mind first? To me, I can visualize the teacher is taking class on environmental ethics in the schools. Okay, so let's start with the schools first, at the status of environmental education in the educational institutions in Bangladesh. So in Bangladesh, environmental science, there is no subject which is named environmental science, or there is no particular textbook which actually talks about environmental science, climate change, disaster management. But environmental education is a part of elementary science in the primary and the secondary level. In the higher secondary, it's taught in the biology and other subjects. So also students get to know about the nature and the biodiversity and the environment of Bangladesh in the subject named Bangladesh Studies. So this is how environmental basics of environment, climate change is being taught in the schools of Bangladesh. But I actually want to thank Bangladesh government, because Bangladesh government has started incorporating environmental education in different subjects, especially in the environmental science. I think back in the 1990s, where most of the governments in the developing world didn't recognize that. So according to the Bangladesh National Education Policy 2010, the primary objectives are directed toward the cultivation of human values. So out of many goals of our national education policy, we have found there is one environment related objective, and that is defined as to build students as skilled human resources to fight the challenges of the world threatened by climate change and other natural disasters, and to create in them a social awareness about environment, so that we can understand that our national education policy talks about creating skilled and capable human resources so that they can fight the consequences of climate change and other environmental issues. Also talks about creating social awareness among the mass people. But there is an irony that the education system in Bangladesh is much result or score oriented. During my visit to different schools and the educational institutions, I have talked to many students. They have informed me that they get to know a very little about environment, climate change, and disaster in the schools, though it's included in the textbooks, because questions doesn't come from those chapters. As the teachers, they don't emphasize on those chapters or units, and they put questions from other chapters like the history, civics, and others. So that's one reason we are not getting skilled human resources in the field of environmental conservation and environmental protection and biodiversity conservation. And in the textbooks, we have found that the environmental education has more data, which is somehow is not relatable, which is quite difficult to understand for the students, because they won't be able to understand about the 1.5 degree or 2 degrees Celsius, keeping the temperature rise below 1.5 or 2 degrees Celsius at once, because they don't know about the Paris Agreement. And not also the students of the university, they won't be able to understand this easily, because it's not easy to understand how things happen behind these targets, global targets and the global goals. Yeah, the education talks about the textbooks talks about state SDGs, environmental protection, biodiversity conservation, but in Bangladesh we have found that it's not action oriented. Most of the time in the schools, what we have found about environmental action is limited to some cleanup programs during the beginning of the education year, because there then and that time we don't have much pressure of classes on the students. That's why they do some cleanups, voluntary cleanups. But we need more environmental actions in Bangladesh, Bangladeshi schools. So here comes how environmental education should be incorporated in the subjects, in different subjects. Here we can discuss about the subjects that are being taught in the schools of Bangladesh. Yeah, we can suggest to have a completely different subject for as environmental science or climate science or environmental disaster studies, because the students are already overburdened with so many subjects, so many textbooks, heavy textbooks. So the researchers and uh, the specialists, they're talking about reducing the subjects and making the education more action oriented. So in this regard, we are not suggesting to have a completely different subject for environmental education, but rather we are suggesting to incorporate these in different subjects so that students can actually feel and be passionate about environmental protection. So we have subjects like career studies. So career studies is being taught in the secondary levels. So here we can teach them about how they can build career in the environmental sector, how they can make them as prepare them as skilled human resources to fight the challenges of challenges threatened by the climate change, because already the national education policy talks about creating skilled human resources to fight the challenges of climate change. Also, we have another subject for the students that's named arts and crafts. So in this subject, it's kind of more practical, and students are asked to prepare different crafts. So in this, when teachers teach this about this subject, they can ask students to create crafts out of trashes, and through that they can teach students about the 3R principles and how they can practice sustainable lifestyle from their home. Also, we have another subject like ICT, information and communication technology. In this subject, we can suppose we have a subject, we have a chapter in this textbook, and we are teaching them about how they can communicate climate change, environmental action, biodiversity conservation through using the social media tools, or through using different ICT tools, or the textbooks can include the excellent apps created by different environmental NGOs, which is leading towards the path of environmental protection in different countries. We have another great subject, that's moral and religious studies. In this subject, we can talk about how religion uh, 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 promotes environmental protection. As example, we can talk about how Islam is asking Muslims to protect the environment. What are the messages of different religions in terms of biodiversity conservation or protecting our environment? So yeah, in this regard, we can sensitize our young people and teach them about environmental protection, biodiversity conservation, climate action, and other relevant issues. So there's another issue when we talk about climate literacy. Uh, we know that majority of the population in Bangladesh, or even in the developing countries, or even in the different countries of the world, are not students. So how should we promote climate literacy among those non-students? And because we have found that everybody in the society has a very important role in terms of environmental protection. In Bangladesh, in the southern part of Bangladesh, we have found that the fishermen are using one kind of chemicals to catch the fishes, which is not good for other species and also not good for the reproduction of the aquatic animals. So this is kind of harming the aquatic biodiversity. Also, we have found that the cultivation of inorganic vegetables and using chemical fertilizers are degrading our environment, degrading the air quality, degrading the soil quality. So obviously, environmental literacy comes here too. So how we are planning to uh, promote environmental literacy among this group? We know that everybody in this society, everybody in our country, somehow belongs to some societies. Like there are different societies for the fishermen in the southern part of Bangladesh. There are society for the rickshaw pullers. There are society for the farmers, and they are connected to different government departments. So through those departments, through those society, we can forward the climate literacy towards them. And we should obviously think about promoting group specific or people specific climate literacy, because what is being taught in the schools are not suitable for the fishermen. So we should prepare something different for them, so that they can understand easily. Rather than teaching them about the very basic things or the elements of environment, we can teach them about how they can do sustainable fishing. So in this way, we can put all the societies, all the groups in our country under the umbrella of climate and environmental literacy. And also, when it comes to taking environmental literacy to environmental action, or translating environmental literacy into climate action, we have found that Bangladesh is not performing. I think the developing countries or the South Asia is not performing that well, because in Bangladesh we have found that very few people are interested to get higher degrees on environmental in art science or environmental disciplines. And also the thing is that environmental education is not a part of university education for all the students from different subjects like accounting, economics, social studies. So our government should think, our governments in the developing areas, developing countries, especially from the South Asia, should think about incorporating environmental education, at least one course for every degree program, so that people can understand about the importance of environmental protection, biodiversity conservation. And through this way, like in the developing countries, we are going through a era of demographic dividend, where we are finding more people coming to be entrepreneurs. Our government, UN, different UN agencies, they're promoting entrepreneurship. So in this regard, I have a message to our government, so that they can have a separate category for green entrepreneurship, and so that they can fund the entrepreneurs who are thinking about environment, who are taking action for protecting our environment. Also, government can provide incentives for the green entrepreneurs. If we don't talk about how climate literacy should be converted into climate action, we won't be able to uh, progress in this sector, because in our countries, in the South Asia, we have found that more youth, they actually want to pursue their career in those they want to get them admitted to those subjects or to those programs which has more job opportunities. Like they're becoming engineers, they're pursuing degree on business administration, but very few are pursuing degree on environmental science, disaster management, or subjects relevant to art sciences. So it's not possible, obviously, to bring all the people in the environmental science degrees, but we can teach them at least one course for every degree program, because we are getting more entrepreneurs from the business sector, from the technology sector. So if a technology student, he can get to know about environmental protection and can be sensitized about that. He can take action on that. He can uh, build an enterprise. He can create an app which can obviously benefit us in the long run. In this regard, my organization, Youth Empowerment and Social Development Society, we are working on environmental education since 2018 till the date through our climate literacy development training. And later in the during the pandemic time, we have named it Climate Literacy Online Workshop. We have trained over 1,000 youths from different parts of Bangladesh. And when we were training those youths, we got so many questions, and those questions actually made us to think about this and work, plan for better works. Like there one of the questions that was raised by most of the students: how should we carry forward this climate literacy, because we are not going to be in this sector? How can we promote climate change, or climate action? So we had to think about that. We actually sit with so many organizations in Bangladesh, NGOs. So then we come up with the concept of green entrepreneurship. Currently we are providing training on green entrepreneurship with the Oxfam in Bangladesh, and we have created a network with other NGOs. We are planning on that, so that we can give some seed funds to the youths who are quite interested about environmental protection and biodiversity conservation. And from 2018, we are organizing another pre-COP event. The name of the event is Dhaka Climate Talk. This is kind of a meeting platform where we bring the negotiator from Bangladesh, the public service representatives, INGOs who actually take part in the international climate negotiation, or in the present Bangladesh in the international climate platforms. So we somehow created a network with the INGOs, government departments, and the youths, where you get to know about how negotiation happens in the international arena, and the policymakers, the negotiators, the NGOs, they get to know about what youths think about uh, climate change, climate action, environmental protection, biodiversity conservation, so that they can take better projects. That is all about my speech.
Okay, go ahead.
Thanks, everybody.
That was a wonderful holistic view about the problems that we face in terms of implementation of climate literacy. And one message that I take from your complete message that you shared with us is the importance of translating climate literacy into climate action. I think that's the core, I think, because ultimately people need jobs, people need sustenance, and unless we are able to use that information, use that knowledge and translate into action, we will not address the problems of climate change. And unless we are being able to create a more vibrant economy, which is more sustainable in nature, we will not have a sustainable solution to the climate crisis. So definitely that's wonderful advice, and kudos to the great work that you are doing with your organization to spread the movement. And with that, I would now call upon Neela to share the message from one of the My Worth youth, Bindu Bandari from Nepal, who could not join us for some reason, and she has shared a message for all of us. So Neela, please, if you can share the message from Bindu. Before that, I'll just like to highlight Bindu is our My Voice leader from Nepal. She has received several awards and recognitions for her campaign for sustainable communities and for youth empowerment. This include the Inspiring UN Volunteers Award, Collegiate Ambassador for Peace, Young Achiever by Nepal TV, Eco Generation's Best Regional Ambassador, to name a few. She was recently listed as one of the 25 female climate leaders shaping 2019 by Ecologist, as an Asia Regional Officer of Climates, and also a World Climate Leader Ambassador for Climate Interactive. She has facilitated many world climate simulations in Nepal, India, France, and Morocco. Bindu works with climate and energy team at the Climate Interactive, contributing to international diffusions of the interactive tools developed by her organization. Motivated by the philosophy that youth are the present, she leads by example and has coordinated several grassroots campaigns in Nepal and beyond. Over to you, Neela.
Thank you so much, Ajay. I actually met Bindu at the South Asia Youth Environmental Conclave that Earth Day Network had organized with the American Center some years ago, and Zuhair was also part of that. And Bindu is unable to join us today, but she sends her greetings, and I will read out her message to you. Hello and namaste. I am a climate change communicator from Nepal. I work with a not-for-profit think tank called Climate Interactive. In 2013, when I first learned about climate change impacts in developing countries like Nepal, I was startled. I was pursuing my undergraduate studies in veterinary science back then, and I wondered why I didn't know about the issue before. Why isn't the media, political forums, and academic institutions prioritizing climate change? Why are we bearing the brunt of climate impacts when we didn't cause it in the first place? I had many questions, and I still have. But I become sure of two things. First, it is a crisis as everything we have achieved as humankind so far is at stake, thus requiring urgent action. And second, we now also have a unique opportunity to redesign our economy and development pathway in a just and equitable way. The climate system is highly complex. A coupled, non-linear, chaotic system is as stated in the IPCC assessment report. But I found an effective way to inform and educate people on the topic by employing interactive climate tools. As a visionary architect, Buckminster Fuller said, if you want to teach people a new way of thinking, don't bother trying to teach them. Instead, give them a tool, the use of which will lead them to new ways of thinking. Since 2014, I have been using freely available computer simulation models developed by Climate Interactive and MIT Sloan Sustainability Initiative to inform and educate people worldwide about climate science and policy. These scientific models, called C-roads and N-roads, are packaged in role-playing games and workshop formats, which provide participants with an accessible and engaging learning experience. I am fascinated by the power of such tools in challenging one's mental models and encouraging one to act as informed by the best available science. Education lays a universal foundation for informed decision-making, but climate education in many parts of the world, including South Asia, is still rudimentary. To strengthen climate education, having a few mandatory chapters in the curriculum won't suffice. Thus, I would like to ask the governments and world leaders to incorporate systems thinking in climate education. Systems thinking helps understand the interaction and interdependencies between different components of the climate system. This approach essentially provides a way to recognize the intricate and dynamic relationship between people, environment, and economy, which will be a key to building an inclusive and sustainable world, leaving no one behind. For more information about our work, please visit climateinteractive.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Neela. And as Neela mentioned, you must check out this very interactive tool, the Climate Interactive, because it gives you a very interesting this thing. You can explore that tool. With that, we move to the next speaker. His name is Navid Sufizada from Afghanistan. Navid Sufizada is a climate change expert and an environmentalist who currently works as a senior climate change mitigation project specialist at Afghanistan's National Environmental Protection Agency. Navid is recognized as a skilled and highly motivated young climate leader, a global shaper whose experience is called upon to train officials and members of NGOs alike, from them to have a better understanding of ways to mitigate the existing climate crisis. Navid is also a board member of Environmental Watch Afghanistan. The organization is recognized as one of the first community-based organizations that work for the environment, in particular for climate change. With that, I will invite Navid. Navid, please share your message.
I don't see him here, Ajay.
Video,
Okay.
if someone would like to play the video.
Hello everyone, I'm Navid Sufizada, a youth ambassador of My Future, My Vice program, and the climate change specialist at NEPA, Afghanistan. Uh, I, I really thank Earth Network for providing me this opportunity to take part in this important conclave and to talk about climate change and climate literacy. The Earth's climate has changed many times during the planet's history, with events ranging from ice ages to long periods of warmth. But what's different about this period of Earth's history is that human activities are significantly contributing to the natural climate through particularly through our emissions of greenhouse gases. The global annual temperature has increased at an average rate of 0.08 degrees Celsius per decade since 1880. But also this is resulting in increased air and ocean temperatures. Also drought, melting ice and snow, rising sea levels, increased rainfall, and other deadly influences. In addition, in Afghanistan, since 1950, Afghanistan's mean annual temperature has increased significantly and considerably by 1.8 degrees Celsius. We have been witnessing many natural disasters such as droughts, floods, and landslides in different provinces of our country. Education, particularly climate education, is essential in responding to climate change impacts. It helps people understand and address impact of global warming and increases the climate literacy among young people. Also encourages them to change their behavior and attitude towards climate change and help them to adapt to climate change related impacts. Education and awareness raising enable informed decision making, plays an essential role in increasing adaptation and mitigation capacities in the communities, and also it empowers women and men to adopt a sustainable lifestyle. In Afghanistan, the National Environmental Protection Agency, INGOs like UNEP and UNDP has specific plans and policies for raising public awareness and capacity building in climate change issues. Also, in addition, there are some active NGOs that works for raising public awareness in the field of climate change, but the numbers is totally very few, and they are not sufficient for these vast disasters that climate change caused. Overall, we need more entities and NGOs to work in the field of climate change and to enhance climate literacy in our country. My message for the world leaders that hear our voice is that climate change is a major threat to our environment, society, and economy. But we can have a prosperous, inclusive, and low carbon world if we are all united and committed in tackling climate change and take action now. Thank you.
Was a wonderful message highlighting the importance of action and an appeal from a youth to all the leaders to prioritize climate action. With that, I will now invite our youth ambassador, a youth, My Future, My Voice ambassador from Sri Lanka, Udari Anuthara Mohiti. Udari strongly believes in a no-waste policy, which, sorry, I invite Udari to please share with us her message.
Hi.
Yes, Udari.
Hi, I'm Udari, and I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay. So yeah, I'm Udari Mohoti from Sri Lanka, and I'm a designer by designation, and I'm currently practicing as an interior designer. And also I'm an activist specializing in environmental friendly design. And I also am the founder of my own company, Umo Designs. So today, since this 2-day program has been focusing mainly on climate literacy, I actually plan to discuss mainly about my role in this as a designer and the role of design in climate literacy. So initially, I'll start with the common topic that we've all been discussing these few days. So that will be the what is climate literacy. So I think as everyone has been explaining for 2 days, and it's basically the understanding that we have between about the impact and influence that we have on the climate and on the climate on us. So it consists of understanding the principles of climate literacy, us communicating about climate literacy in a meaningful way, and also being able to make informed and responsible decisions based on what we know. So what I strongly believe is that climate literacy and anything related to climate is it's actually an interdisciplinary subject, so which will require lifelong learning, because it's a subject which is not relevant just to environment, science, or one stream. It affects every part of society, it affects everybody, and therefore I think everybody is responsible for climate change. So because of this, I believe that in order to address climate literacy, it is compulsory to have a systems thinking approach, since it's not possible for a single person to be understanding about everything together. So because of that, right now that's the reason I'm going to focus on the role of a design in climate literacy. So when it comes to my subject, what I would mainly like to say is my subject comes related to built environment. So it has been identified that 40% of carbon emissions is the responsibility of the built environment. So since this is becoming an increasing problem in the world, I believe that it is time, it has already been started in this field. So this is why a holistic design approach for not just addressing climate change reduction, but also climate change adaptation both. So this is where I see the role of design comes in to this subject. So when we talk about climate literacy in the field of design, this is why a major subject has been introduced in the name of green design or sustainable design. So when we talk about sustainable design or green design, it is about designing something consciously, taking into account the entire life cycle, the potential to recycle the product, the impact on the environment, and the total sustainability of the product. This subject is what we introduce in the field of design as sustainable and green design. So this consists of the carbon footprint that we create during the design stage, the product miles, that is the product miles of during the design process. Then also when it comes to the field of design, we talk about not just 3 R's, we talk about 6R, a 6R concept, which is the recycle, reuse, repair, refuse, rethink, and reduce. So recycle is the usual that we talk about. Reuse is the normal reusability of the product. Repair is if we don't necessarily have to throw it away, instead of throwing it away, to repair the product. Then refuse is to think if this product is actually if whatever we are using for this design is not necessary, we don't use it. Again, rethink comes from the buyer side. If it's only necessary, we'll be purchasing this product. So in case when we rethink this, the necessary to produce unnecessary items reduces. Also then reduce. So as a designer, I mainly focus on product design and interior design. So currently, as a designer, my role as an environmental activist, what I do towards this world is, especially through UMO designs, what I focus on is how we can use whatever, like we mainly produce what we consider as waste, whatever we throw away, if it's really necessary to throw it away, or else if we can reuse it for some other purpose, or if we can modify it. This sort of concept only I mainly focus in at UMO designs. Same way, what I mainly focus on there is whatever materials that it's very common that we throw away. So wastage that we believe that we have no option. I focus on where we can add more value to that item, and then use it as another product introduction to the world. So as such, I have my own stream of jewelry production. I do a collection of portraits, all made out of waste material, which includes packaging, waste vehicle tires, and also at the meantime, the way I get these products done is by creating, I use youth. I use the youth. I use younger people who will be the future. So to give them inspiration, as well as give them motivation that everyone can do better. So at the same time, when we talk about built environment, once again, when it comes to interior design, again, it's the same thing, that how we can incorporate these sustainable practices, these green design practices towards interior design. So mainly what we have to consider in this area, what I believe that we have to consider is, we have to mainly consider about the energy efficiency, the resource conservation, and the health of the person. So some of these solutions that what we'll be providing will most of the time be more expensive, but in a long term view, it will be much more not just cost efficient, but also it will have a positive impact on almost every area of your life. So we have to understand how we work with limited resources, how we do a design for well-being, for preventing like pollution and wastage, unnecessary wastage, unnecessary all these unnecessary products that we throw away. So focusing on these, I believe that this green design concept can be utilized as a forward-thinking approach, where it will not only enhance the lives of people today, but also the future, while protecting the environment for years to come. So I believe if this image that you can see on the screen, if you can see it, this screen, it's certain approaches that have been taken forward by Sri Lankan architects, Sri Lankan designers, to incorporate these sustainable design practices in our architecture, in our design field as such. So I believe that if everyone works together, even if everyone works together towards this, it's possible to create a future where it will be better for the planet, it will be better for your wallet, and also it will be better for you. So Sri Lanka, which is known as the wonder of Asia, is famous for so many things. So mainly it comes about its ecosystem. So the fauna and flora in Sri Lanka, the natural resources that we possess, these items that it's common knowledge that we have to preserve these items, but it's people lack inspiration where we can where everyone can contribute towards this. So that's where I come in. That's where I have introduced UMO designs. That's where I have stepped up as a designer towards this field, so that everyone, like whatever design we produce to the world, as creators, we have the power of making a bigger change. So if everyone contributes, if everyone has the willingness, if everyone wants to do something, I believe anyone can do it. So similarly, I believe design is a social responsibility. So I will wind up right now, just with the message to every person listening that everyone has the power to make change. So not to give up, just whatever, no matter how small, if you can make a change, don't give up on your dreams. Thank you.
Thank you, Dari, for that wonderful message. And I see such a good flow for this session where we heard from Zuhair and others about the critical gaps of climate literacy, the importance of climate literacy, and now Udari sharing with us a practical example of how she has used her skill and built an enterprise which actually addresses solutions and creates solutions for addressing the climate crisis. So that's a wonderful message, Udari. And I would also like to add that because I skipped her bio for the purpose that because her bio really explains about the work she is doing, and she has already explained beautifully how she has built a solution in terms of an enterprise, UMO Design, which showcases her concepts from trash to treasure. She has worked with discarded vehicles, tires, and upcycled into beautiful jewelry, where he has created portraits from out of waste paper, packaging material, as you mentioned, which would ultimately be choking our landfills if it is not reused or repurposed, as you mentioned. To widen the concept among other artists as well, she aptly displays her concern for the environment and exceptional leadership qualities with the latest venture, UMO Unites, who sets up a social enterprise to encourage other artists and get inspired with her founding philosophy of no waste. Uh, Thank you, Udari, for sharing these messages with us and the wonderful work you are doing with this thing. I am sure it will inspire more designers. And I personally believe that architects and designers have really a big role to play in addressing all forms of social challenges, and definitely climate being one of them. With that, we move to another message from Aima Mustafa. She's My Future, My Voice ambassador from Maldives. Aima is a freelance illustrator from Maldives. She Maldives, she works with civic education materials and awareness campaigns from various organizations. As one of the founding members of Maldives Authentic Crafts Cooperative Society that works to promote and revive traditional handicrafts made out of natural fibers, he has been fundamental in documenting the design and weaving process of traditional mats, a love for environmental and culture, and can be seen in many of her works. I will request Sheetal to please play the video message from Aima.
Sure, Raju, just give me a minute to play a message. There's some error.
While Sheetal sets up the video, I think we will have a few minutes to take up a few questions. I'll request the audience, the participants, to put their questions on the Q&A section. There's an option called Q&A, and preferably directed to one of the panelists who are with us, so that, and make it a little more specific. Thank you.
So her message is also heard.
Climate change is one of the most pressing issues of our times, and as I speak, there are many communities around the world that are already living in this climate emergency. If we don't take a united and collective effort to heal the planet, future generations will be living from one disaster to the next, and that's unacceptable. In the Maldives, we are observing increased intensity, frequency, and unpredictability of extreme weather conditions and events, which leads to wide-reaching direct impacts such as flooding and water shortages. We are also witnessing irreplaceable loss and damages from climate impact, such as the loss of land from beach erosion due to rising sea levels and coral bleaching. In this context, investing in and making climate education accessible to all is one of the most important tools to equip future generations with the knowledge and tools to build resilience towards the impacts of climate change, but also to promote and work towards behavioral changes for a more sustainable future. Climate education can also ignite discussions and interest on the topic so that it remains an important issue in the public discourse. There are several NGOs in the Maldives that play an active role in promoting climate change, education, and awareness, and currently climate change is included in the national curriculum as well. While these steps are taken locally, I believe that more needs to be done globally in order to address the issue. As a start, governments around the world should divest from fossil fuels, protect and conserve their natural resources, and work with the goal to protect the planet. Thank you.
Thank you for that message. We also have one more message from Bhutan, from Thinley. Thinley is one of the fellow global shapers, and we'll hear one message as well.
My name is Tinley Chodan. I'm a climate reality leader from Bhutan. I'm also a social entrepreneur and consultant. I'm also the founding curator of Global Shapers Thimphu Hub. To me, the climate crisis is essentially a crisis of values, injustice, and lack of proper and consistent action on many levels. The human ego, by which I mean the value of existence and voice, just because the air, the water, and the land and other forms of non human life does not have a human voice, we humans, by and large, take them for granted and or overexploit for for our own short-sighted and immediate greed and gain. Rich and poor, whether countries or individuals, because the poor are the most vulnerable to the negative impact of climate change, while the contribution towards changing climate is very minimal. Therefore, is highly disproportionate carbon burden. Intergenerational equity. It is the moral and ethical responsibility and leadership of every individual to ensure that we leave behind a good and sustainable earth to our future generations. While every individual in their own capacity has to step up, the richer countries have to commit not only with their words, but with their actions and funding in climate mitigation and adaptation. In Bhutan, we are very fortunate to have far-sighted leadership in climate stewardship that we're able to have maintained our environmental health. However, with changing lifestyles and consumption and modernization, we see increasing pollution, which poses a grave climate threat if we do not quickly switch to climate smart economic development and sustainable living. I strongly believe climate education and literacy play an immense and critical role in a sustainable future and healthy planet. A recent study by Brookings Institute says that if only 16% of high school students in high and middle income countries were to receive climate change education, we could see a nearly 19 gigaton reduction of carbon dioxide by 2050. By establishing a personal connection to climate solutions as well as personal agency and empowerment, it can have consequential impact on students' daily behavior, decision making that reduces their lifetime carbon footprint. The Bhutanese bureaucracy, the CSO, and the education system does an excellent job in environment conservation and education. And I would say we generally have a high level of environmental consciousness in our socio-cultural policy and governance spaces. What we can and need to do more is combining it with climate change, and specifically how our modern lifestyles and changing consumptions are highly influencing climate change, and what we need to do as humans to lead a climate-friendly, sustainable lifestyle. Because environment is not just about the environment, it is about us, the humans. We are not apart from the environment, we are part of the environment. And what we do and not do impacts our environment, our ecosystem, and livelihoods. My message for the world leaders and decision makers is this: enough is said and heard. We need you to walk the talk. We do not want patronizing. We want materializing of your words and commitments into action, big and small, because we have to save humanity. The planet will survive regardless.
I think that's a perfect summary to this session in terms of a message that climate is not something which is apart from that. Climate and environment is not something apart from that. It is the core of our existence, and that's why climate literacy is so important. It's for all of us to understand how life works on this planet and how what we do and what we don't do creates an impact on this planet and threatens our own existence on this planet. With that message, I think I'll thank all the panelists for being here and those who have shared their message, and also take a moment to pray for Dr. Hifza Khan and her family, who was supposed to join us for this session from Pakistan, but there has been she lost someone close to her in her family because of COVID, and there are people in the family who are suffering from COVID. So I request all of you to pray for her and her family. And she does some great work in her country, and she's a medically trained as a doctor, but she takes up a lot of initiatives as a philanthropist and a climate activist. And our prayers are with her these difficult times as the world faces this pandemic. And I think this is also a reminder, as Nishu mentioned in front of the session, is that it's Mother Earth speaking to us and giving us warning signs of it, because scientists have been telling us this, the climate crisis could be worse, but we still have time, but with very little time left, it's more important to prioritize climate action. And I once again thank all the panelists and all the organizers for this wonderful session, and also the audience for staying with us and sharing this message. And my final appeal to all the participants and who are watching this is 22nd April is Earth Day. It's just not a day, it's a part of a movement. I invite all of you to be part of this movement, because this is one kind of a problem, one kind of an issue which impacts each of us on this planet. Each living being on this planet is affected. And it is no way that any of us are immune to it. If you are doing something which is non-sustainable in your communities, the impacts of it is felt and across the world. So it's not about one country doing enough. It has to be a holistic action by each and every person on this planet. Then and only then can we build our lifestyles and build something where we can address the issue of climate change. With that, I invite our regional director, Ms. Karuna Singh, to please share the vote of thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Ajay. Let me first of all thank Climate Reality and Mobis Foundation for providing us such a fantastic platform, for coming and joining with us for this. Let me say that after days, that gloom of despair that has been hanging over me, that cloud of despair, has seen a ray of light penetrate through with all the presentations by these youngsters. I can now rest assured that the world is in safe hands. Thank you to all the presenters. You are amazing people, absolutely amazing. I wish I could be like you. The way you have thought out of things, the way you are doing things, and your commitment to the future. Let me just say, thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you for saving the world for us. Thank you all very much, and thank you to the Climate Reality team and the Mobis team for coordinating with us for this. Let me not leave out my colleagues. Each one of them, I feel so proud of them. Ajay, Neela, Nishu. I mean, here I'm sitting and listening to you and I'm saying, what am I doing here? They should be the regional directors, because they have seen it so clearly. They can speak about it so clearly. So it's your time, youngsters. Thank you for what you do. Please continue doing it and teach us also how to do things better. Thank you all very, very much. Thank you.
Thank you for that message. Since we have a little bit of time left, I'll just take the two questions that we have. I see some of them are already answered. There are two open questions. One is an anonymous question from Anandi for Udari. Udari, can you just elaborate on environment-friendly designs which her organization has brought to her interior design clients? So I believe her question is if you can elaborate a little more on how you use your design and how your organization is making a difference using those designs. And our regional director also requested if you can share with us some designs. So that will be interesting.
She has beautiful jewelry designs, beautiful portraits made out of discarded material. Udari, please show some if it's available with you just now.
Yeah, give me a minute.
Yeah, it's absolutely fascinating.
Just give me a few minutes. I'll share a few images.
In the meantime, if
and also,
sure, go ahead, Neela.
No, I was just mentioning that our ebooks also show a lot of innovative ideas on how to be green. We've launched these ebooks every year for the last couple of years. The last one has been on restoring water, rejuvenating water, but there is one on public spaces that shows how people have turned public spaces such as schools and other office spaces green. Over to you, Udari. This is lovely.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's visible to you. I have shared a few, I'm sharing a few photographs. So these are some images of the jewelry that I've made. These have been fully handmade. These are fully fabricated by hand, made out of waste vehicle tires. So these are all scrap tires that has been modified by hand and converted to jewelry. So I hope these images are visible.
Yep.
Yeah. So these are all some images of the jewelry. And
Udari, do you have your portraits?
yeah, I'll try to share a few photographs of those too. I don't have many right now, but I think I can share with you.
And then Ajay, if I could ask Madish to tell us how he works with the National Service Scheme, which has so many youth in them.
So are these visible, these images?
Yeah.
But I'm showing, yeah. So all of these have been made out of, again, fully handcrafted, made out of waste packaging, newspapers, and all waste paper. So if you can see, I don't have many photographs here. See.
Doesn't matter. That'll interest us to go to your website and see.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Udari. You can actually drop a link to your website, and
yeah,
I'm sure people would love to visit and explore more designs. And just a quick 2 minutes for Madish to highlight his work with NSS and anything interesting that you are working on right now with them.
So National Service Scheme, that is NSS, is an autonomous body of the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, Government of India, and that primarily works at educational institutes like colleges and schools, and they have NSS units. And National Service Scheme is also world's largest youth organization, and they have 3.5 million volunteers across the country. And the greater objective of the organization is constructively engage young people into community services and making them more socially responsible. So that's how the organization works, and it also works in the rural and urban parts of the country. And the greater objective that we are running right now across the country is the COVID vaccination drive, and we are engaging young people constructively in spreading awareness about vaccination, removing the myths and COVID stigma around in the community, and how young people can be enablers, because right now technology is also a barrier for people, for the elderly to register for the vaccination. So these young people are enabling these elderly to, register for the COVID vaccination and driving the entire movement across the country currently. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Ajay, if I might ask, Ajay, could I ask Zuhair to tell us about the green campuses that he has helped build? A lot of the... Zuhair?
Okay, so that was another action that was taken by me. The name was that campus ambassador campaign. We also
Yes.
named it as Art Leadership Campaign. So till now, I have reached out to around 50 campuses. We have managed to bring 50 ambassadors from 50 campuses. So as we have a large population of campus ambassadors, so we are now getting into a different approach. That's regional approach. We have divided into 10 regions in Bangladesh. So for each region, we have now recruited regional ambassador who is actually coordinated with the campus ambassadors of the particular region. So hopefully before the end of June, we'll be able to reach out to 100. So as we are expanding the network, and through them, as it's very difficult right now to be on ground action. So we're now promoting promoting environmental action at home. So we are making videos with some great ideas how we can promote environmental action from our home, do some best practices. Yeah, that's all about what we're doing during this pandemic.
Thank you, Zohair.
Thank you.
And with that, I would like to invite Dr. Rambuj to finally conclude this session and share his wisdom with us. And I also take a moment to thank everyone once again. And over to you, Dr. Rambuj.
Thank you very much. I think everybody, it was wonderful second day, full of energy. As always, youth, they lead the way, and they have shown very well with practical actions, right from India, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal, Maldives, Sri Lanka. We had a very, I think this was the excellent day, excellent presentations, and diversity of experiences on climate literacy that we all just witnessed. My future, my voice. In fact, yesterday also this was discussed that there is a lot of discussion, lot of debates on climate action, but unless youth, they take the lead, they come forward, they launch the campaigns. As some of these examples we can see, I think climate action may not be possible. The carbon neutrality goal or Paris climate change goal is still far away. So I think for us, all the three organizations under the dynamic leadership of Karunaji, our good friend Aditya, and of course overall Mr. Pradeep Burman, who very silently both days he have been observing, listening, and in fact when we talk to him he gives his comments, but he is very enthusiastic about it, very passionate. And I think this is he told me yesterday that all these deliberations are at the core of his passion and his heart. I would just like to make a few mentions here. Number one is the Mobius Foundation is into a year-long campaign on mission sustainability, population versus planet. We have a full one day, one episode committed to youth, and we will come back to all the youth in one or the other way. For that episode, it will be almost an hour episode, both on WION network as well as almost 6-7 channels of Z network. On Z News, it is Sambhalna Jaruri Hai, Prakriti Banam Jansankhya Banam Prakriti, and on WION it is Mission Sustainability, Population versus Planet. That is one. In fact, I think this is a series that we continued from ICSC, International Conference on Sustainability Education in 2019, where we had almost 5 youth-led parallel sessions. Very powerful sessions those were. I think they lend all the credence to the whole ICSC platform. Last year also, I think all these, we three joined together and have a youth-led session, very power-packed like today's, 90-minute. I think these all are giving us a very good idea what about the youth thinking, various movements, and where this climate literacy or environment education as a whole, or sustainability education is going to lead. As our colleague from Bangladesh was telling, the integration of climate and environment literacy into curriculum, there are several ways. All the countries are struggling how to bring forth, whether there should be separate subject approach, there should be infusion approach or integration approach. These are being developed. Uh, Last year in ICSC also we decided that Mobius will launch a World Environment School where we will give this a treatment, a separate subject treatment, because integration and fusion is all right, but unless there is a stress, the whole emphasis, because environment or climate is going to impact everyday life, as one of our presenters said, that it's a lifelong process. So World Environment School, that is why we are trying to inculcate environment and climate literacy right from the very beginning, at the early childhood till, of course, at the later lifelong learning. Of course, we all are into that. The second one is at the rural level in India, particularly, we have this GAV school, and I invite all of you to contribute, to collaborate, and also create a model uh, in the formal education system, particularly because we all are into informal systems in the climate literacy and environment literacy, but informal system also we should create models. National education policy of India and other countries, they have very nice thinking, but how to translate these policies into action, and particularly classroom situation, and beyond that into the nature, that is the real challenge. And I am very happy that you all have shown some lead and very important and very dynamic scenario that you have presented that will lead us to action. And I think I do not want to take more time. I must congratulate uh, Karunaji, Aditya, and entire team, Mobius team, Climate Reality team, Earth Day Network. I think this is a model to mobilize youth towards action and for a better Earth and better future. Thank you very